Imagine beefing with Rosa Parks. Clap if you're one of the most talented lyricists in history, but you've let an intense fear of being replaced turn you into your own worst enemy.
Yo.
Nikki, what are you doing here? Hey, girl. Hey, I'm back. Look, in this new life of mine, I'm not only committed to making things hard, but to doing hard things. And right now, there's nothing more difficult than being a Nicki fan. Have you been following what's been going on lately with Nicki and Jay-Z? She's been on a tweet tirade, basically publicly accusing Jay-Z and Roc Nation of shortchanging her on Tidal equity. Y'all remember Tidal? Remember that big artist signing moment, and it was supposed to be a huge game changer for artists with higher payouts, equity, exclusive content as leverage, lossless hi-fi audio, blah, blah, blah. We only signed up to watch the Feeling Myself music video.
Let me get a number 2 with some Mac sauce or on a run tour with my man.
But yeah, I guess Nicki got none of that, or maybe only part of it. She alleges in her math that if her stake had been valued correctly, she would have walked away with about $9 million. And according to her, she only got 1.3. Either way, if any of this is true, it sucks. It's bad, and you should speak up. It's giving Monique, but you should speak up.
That's what I said.
I guess. Here's the thing, though. Beefing with Jay-Z means beefing with Beyonce. And you can bet your bottom dollar you're wasting your time because you'll be screaming into a bottomless pit of nothing. Those people are never gonna respond. They're not gonna respond to you, and they're not gonna pay you. Because, babe, Tidal wasn't successful. It went from being worth $56 million to people whispering it's worth about $600 million a couple years later. Super hot, right? But then reality hit, and by 2021, it sold for around $300 million. And then earlier this year, the new owners wrote off about $132 million of it, saying, hey, we were kidding, which suggests that it was overvalued at purchase as it continues to underperform today. So if you're waiting for your giant Tidal payday in 2025, Madam Minaj, the check is not in the mail. According to reports, all of the artists shared their name and their likeness in exchange for a 3% stake. So even if a 3% stake was promised, with the purchase of Tidal back in 2021 for $300 million, Nicki should have walked away with $11 million before taxes, which lines up with the $9 million she says she's missing. But honestly, who cares about any of this? Because this video is about the fact that for the life of Nicki, she just can't just be great. Okay, I hate to say it, but I can't tell you one song off of Pink Friday 2. But I can tell you every tweet from the SZA fight. And fight is a stretch, because it takes two. Nikisha Minaj has had a beef for every year she's been out. And we're gonna go through them, but disclaimer, because I'm a piece of shit. If this video ever goes viral, Nicki will drag me. She'll call me every kind of fat motherfucker she can think of, including Pearl from SpongeBob and Lavelle Crawford. Nicki Minaj, I'm a fan. I love you, and I won't stop loving you even after you've ended me. My mother has your number and will be asking you to sing a Regret in Your Tears Ganja Burns medley at my funeral. Okay, so this initial beef covers 2 years, 2010 through 2012. But is this one really ever over? Lil' Kim said that Nicki stole her style without paying homage, and Nicki hit back with Roman's Revenge featuring Eminem.
The things that I get for putting you bitches on, is it my fault that all
Then Kim responded with a whole mixtape called Black Friday. That back and forth of diss tracks and shade set the template. Legacy versus the New Guard. They never reconciled. It just turned into icy interviews and subtle snaps for a decade and a half. But while Nicki locked horns with Kim, she was also using her absence to make statements. In 2012 at Summer Jam, Hot 97's Pete Rosenberg called Starships not real hip-hop. Nicki canceled her entire performance. Lil Wayne also yanked his entire roster that day. Rosenberg first doubled down, and then he kind of walked it back. To Nicki, it wasn't just about one track. It was about pop versus purist, and Nicki refusing to be gatekept. She was later on Rosenberg's show, to which she told him flat out,
I never found you funny. I never found you entertaining. I never found you smart. I just found you annoying. I just don't know your resume.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I don't know your resume. All right, 2012 to 2013, they sat Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey next to each other as judges on American Idol and let the fireworks fly. To start, Mariah was told that she'd be the only girl on the panel that year. And out of the blue, they added Nicki as a fourth judge. And Nicki came in hot. Mariah said Nicki threatened her. Nicki denied it. Producers practically begged them to hug it out. This was a big deal. Even Obama weighed in. It ended with both of them leaving the show. And later, when asked how is it working at American Idol, Mariah said,
It was like hell, going to work every day in hell with Satan.
Really?
But on to rap debates that were a little more subtle.
Is when you hear Nicki Minaj spit, Nicki Minaj wrote it.
Okay, so this shade was obviously directed at Iggy Azalea, who was just starting to pop off and admittedly never wrote a bar in her life. They never had a beef, I guess. Nicki was just making a point that writing matters in hip hop. Girl, I don't know.
And what do you say to critics who say you don't write your own raps?
I have just as many people on my writing credits as she has on hers, so I don't think.
Meanwhile, Nicki knows that Iggy slaps. Then fast forward to 2015 with Taylor Swift and the VMA nominations. Is this AI? Taylor looks good as fuck. She's a pretty girl. She's not a singer, but she's truly beautiful gowns. Anyways, Nicki tweets about the VMAs uplifting women with very slim bodies. Taylor Swift thinks it's about her. Twitter loses it. Taylor clarifies, hey, I'm a fucking bitch and I missed the point. And Nicki says, okay, girl. And they hug it out. And then Taylor pops up at Nicki's VMA performance. What is this? Then, later that year, Hannah Montana, who happened to be hosting the VMAs, is asked about Nicki's comments about Taylor, and she basically said Nicki was not too kind and implied that she was just jealous. Fast forward to the award show, Nicki wins and live on the VMA stage goes,
This bitch that had a lot to say about me the other day in the press, Miley, what's good?
She's so funny. But then, things got more tactical, like Modern Warfare, which I'm told is a game. Nicki and Ramisha Ma. Oop, wait a minute. Who wore it better? Nicki's persuasion can build a nation. I'm gonna take my time with this one because it's significant. Tensions were simmering with them behind the scenes for a while. People had been comparing Remy and Nicki for years, especially after Remy got out of prison in 2014 and started releasing new music again. Prison? A felon! But look, things ignited when Nicki dropped a verse on Gucci Mane's song Make Love in February 2017, where she basically said,
You the queen of this here. One platinum plaque album flop, bitch, where?
Naturally, we all immediately speculated that it was aimed at Remy because Remy just released an album with Fat Joe, which didn't sell well. And she started to get crowned again the real queen of rap, which is shade. And then just one day after Make Love dropped, Remy released Sheether, a 7-minute diss track over the instrumental of Nas's legendary Ether. It was surgical, packed with accusations that Nicki slept her way to the top, allegations that Nicki had plastic surgery on her butt and it was now collapsing, shots at Nicki's brother who had been charged with child rape at the time, mockery of her breakup with Safari, digs at Nicki's deal with Meek Mill and claims that she was on the verge of being dropped by her label. It immediately became a moment, a cultural reset. And it took Nicki a minute to respond, but when she did, she disappointed. She dropped a diss track featuring Wayne and Drake called No Frauds. And while it is personally one of my favorite Nicki songs, the general public was like, meh. Then shortly after, Remy's track got pulled from all the platforms because she used the Ether beat without clearance from the original artist Nas, who happens to be Nicki Minaj's ex-boyfriend. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? All in all, a technical win for Nicki, but not a lyrical one. All right, fast forward to later in the year, Cardi. Oh, babe, we're going to talk about you a lot this week. You've been busy. Okay, so Cardi versus Nicki didn't just start with the shoe. It actually started with Motorsport. You remember that song? Migos track, both of them were featured, but when the song dropped, fans clocked that Nicki's verse sounded edited, and Cardi seemed blindsided. Interviews got weird, timelines got weirder, people started clocking tension. Then, 2018, Harper's Bazaar New York Fashion Week party, Cardi charges, throwing a literal shoe at Nicki, leaving with a knot on her head. How do you throw the shoe and you leave with a knot? But yeah, Cardi says that Nicki liked a tweet dissing her child. Nicki then goes on her radio show, Queen Radio, saying she'd never diss a child. And part, which I do which I do believe. And being part of hood rat shit at Fashion Week of all places is embarrassing and humiliating. And she accuses Cardi of building her career on shortcuts and ultimately told Cardi to keep the battles to rap, if she can. They never squashed it, never collaborated again, and probably never will. That shoe was the line in the sand. Okay, same year, 2018, Travis Scott. Nicki drops Queen and it debuts at number 2. Who's number 1? Travis Scott's Astro World. But Nicki says he cheated, that he sold merch bundles and inflated his numbers with help from Kylie and Stormy. She calls it Album of the Year fraud, goes on Queen Radio, lights up Spotify, Billboard, the world. She made a whole lot of noise, but Billboard did not budge. The irony is her tantrum actually did help spark the rule change about bundles, so another technical win. Okay, still in 2018, Nicki was on one this year. It's release week for Queen, and instead of promoting her album, Nicki's on Twitter dragging her ex, big ol' throbbing, curved to the right, everything you own in the box to the right, Safari. She says he stole her credit card, paid for prostitutes, and pretended to be her ghostwriter. He claps back saying she tried to stab him and almost died. Nicki responds by dragging his hairline, saying he paid for it and still looks bald. She even exposes the surgeon. This whole thing was truly a blessing. He wore a jean vest.
If you know, you know.
Okay, we finally entered a new year, 2019. BET tries it. While celebrating Cardi's Grammy win, they tweet that Nicki is being dragged by her lace front. Nicki pulls out of the awards show and cancels her BET performance. BET then backtracks, apologizes, and probably fires the intern who wrote the tweet. But it was just a little too late, a little too long, and she can't wait. Okay, moving on. Still in 2019, my 45th favorite bisexual, Joe Budden, had been talking greasy for years about Nicki, questioning her writing, her attitude, her decisions. So in 2019, Nicki brings him on Queen Radio and then kicks him off mid-episode. Then she pulls up to his podcast and does the same thing in reverse. And then with academics, whoever this is, it's worse. Leaked DMs, name calling, him calling her husband a predator. It's messy, but it's mutual. They need each other. Content creation is a combat sport. We love to see it. Okay, we've entered 2020, and the most disastrous thing that happened that year ended up being Nicki running into her ex, Meek Makisha Mill, at a store. Meek and humble Mill. Nicki's with her new husband, Tinge and Bruise. They argued. Next thing you know, they're trading nuclear-level allegations on Twitter. He accuses her of knowing about her brother's crimes. She accuses him of beating women. It's all demonic. Fast forward a month, it's Black History Month 2020. Nicki dropped a snippet of a new song and the internet was like, oh no, hey, this line?
Oh, you bitches, Rosa Parks, get your ass up.
Think pieces flew. Someone released an apology on behalf of her and she followed up on Instagram saying, hey, I didn't apologize and I didn't know anyone was mad and I don't care. I wish that I could have this moment for life. Okay, so Nicki spends the rest of 2020 being chill. She had a baby and moved on. We entered 2021, and one of the members of my Caucasian vocal Mount Rushmore, Jessie J, does a sweet little glamour interview in 2021 saying Nicki asked to be on Bang Bang. Nicki logs on and goes, girl, no. She says the label paid her and she clocked in like a shift. Jessie J is like, oops, that's what they told me. I'm so sorry. Chill. It's not that deep. And look, it's not that deep. But we all know Nicki's allergic to misinformation, especially when it comes to credit. Okay, fast forward to 2022. Nicki's song Super Freaky Girl gets booted to the pop category by the Grammys. Nicki claps back like, okay, well, if that's pop, then so is Latto's Big Energy. Next thing you know, DMs leak. Latto calls her a 40-year-old bully. Nicki says something along the lines of like, I thought you were 35 this whole time, which is funny because Latto was like 19, but those wigs did kind of age her a bit, you know? In all reality, I didn't care about this beef. I don't even know who Latto is. Like, who is this? What does she do? Okay, so this one's layered. It spans 5 years. In 2018, Kanye taps Nicki for New Body, the iconic song New Body. It was supposed to go on his album Yandi that never came out. She writes 3 versions. Then Kanye finds Jesus, wants it clean. Nicki actually does record a more church-friendly version, but still feels like the song loses its edge. So it gets shelved. None of the versions come out. Fast forward to 2022, she's on stage at the Essence Festival, and when the beat drops from Monster, she literally stops the music and says, "I'm not doing that clown. Kanye's a clown." The next year, Kanye resurfaces like, "Hey bestie, let's drop New Body on Vultures." And she's like, "Absolutely not." So yeah, between the church edits, the public shade, and the final no, that collaboration is dead and buried. I do love that Nicki is an independent thinker. Like, she's gonna kind of do whatever she wants to do. Sometimes that's harmful, but I value it. Okay, then we fast forward to 2024. This one stings because it must have been love, but it's over now. Back in 2020, Nicki and Megan Thee Stallion were tight. They were doing Instagram lives together, hyping each other up, even collabing on Hot Girl Summer. But over time, I guess it cooled. Subtweets start, silence at moments that should have felt supportive. Then in 2024, it turns nuclear. Nicki drops Bigfoot, a vicious track that mocks Megan and alludes to the Tory Lanez shooting. It's not subtle. It's also not clever. It's mean. Megan doesn't name names, but she fires back with music of her own. And the music was hot. Nicki kind of loses it during this whole ordeal, like unhinged live streams. This wasn't a good period to be a Barb. Okay, and now we've moved to 2025. Let's unpack this in full because it got cold fast. Here's the setup. SZA is signed to Top Dog Entertainment. And day to day, she's been guided by Terrence Punch Henderson. He is the president and the heavyweight negotiator at TDE. Nicki accuses Punch of bullying her, claiming he retaliated when she declined a business offer. She claims he's been blocking her behind the scenes, interfering with playlisting, award eligibility, backdoor industry stuff. Then comes a tweet. SZA, known for her cryptic one-liner tweets, goes, "Mercury retrograde. Don't take the bait, silly goose." No names, no context, but we get it. And then things spiral. Here are some of Nicki's tweets towards SZA. "Go draw your freckles back on, Buki. Sounding like an effing dead dog. If every song you ever made vanished right now, the music biz wouldn't even miss you." She then digs into SZA's releases, her success metrics, even claiming that her deluxe strategy is counterfeit. SZA then responds saying, "I don't give an F about none of that weird you poppin'." Then she leans into her tour schedule. She's playing packed stadiums with Kendrick Lamar, has a diamond record incoming, something that I don't think Nicki has. And she's glowing in real life, so she just logs off. The end result being Nicki versus silence on multiple fronts. This and the Jay-Z title thing I talked about earlier. So in conclusion, when there's perceived disrespect about credit, categories, gatekeeping, or legacy, Nicki goes on offense. Sometimes she's arguing real structural points, authorship, award politics, the industry being shady, and she's not wrong. But other times, it slides straight into overkill and personal. And that tension, that legit gripe going into scorched earth mode is why the feuds pile up and they don't always go away. So here's the thing. I always have these moments where I'm losing my shit. And I'll go to one of my best friends and I'll say, "Hey, am I crazy?" And they give it to me straight. I ask them to give it to me gay, but they give it to me straight. Nicki needs that. She needs a, "Hey, am I being crazy?" friend. And it can't be somebody on the payroll. It has to be somebody who she trusts enough to hear, "Yes, girl, you're being crazy. Put your phone on the charger, Nick." And then she actually listen. Because Nicki, if you had that person in your corner, half of these beefs wouldn't even make it out of the group chat. And you'd still be what you are, a once-in-a-generation rapper who could run this era without breaking a sweat. You've already got the crown. Nobody's taking it. So just give us the hits, give us the visuals, the chaos on the beat, instead of on the feed. We love your work.